Welcome to Presidency Senior Secondary School online class. So today I will continue Unit 2, that is solution chapter. We have already completed 6 lecture on solution. Today our 7th lecture. So last lecture we have discussed solubility of solid in liquid and also solubility of gas in liquid. So in gas in liquid, we know that solubility of gas in liquid depends on nature of gas. Second one, nature of solvent, that is liquid, temperature, and most important one is pressure. So in nature of gas, we have already discussed there are two types of gas: carbon dioxide, ammonia, sulfur dioxide, HCl, etc. are highly soluble in water because of their chemical combination with the solvent. Other type of gas, say oxygen, nitrogen, helium, hydrogen, etc., are less soluble in water because there is no chemical combination with water and gas. So gases are classified into two types. So solubility depends on nature of gas. Second one, temperature. So as temperature increases, solubility of gas in liquid decreases. This is because process of dissolution is exothermic, that is del H is negative. Third one is pressure, most important factor. So as pressure increases, solubility also increases. So relation between pressure and solubility can be explained using Henry's law. We have already discussed Henry's law and also alternative form of Henry's law. And finally, we have already discussed limitations of Henry's law. Today, we conclude this topic, that is pressure effect, by application of Henry's law. So there are different applications of Henry's law, but we consider only 3 important applications. First application of Henry's law in the production of carbonated beverages. In the production of carbonated beverages, we know that there are different types of soft drinks: soda water, champagne, beer, etc., where carbon dioxide gas is dissolved by applying high pressure. So in soft drinks, carbon dioxide gas is present at high pressure. So when stopper is opened, so excess carbon dioxide which is present in the solution or liquid releases excess carbon dioxide. So in soft drinks, soda water, etc., carbon dioxide is present at high pressure. When stopper is opened, so pressure is released, so excess or pressure is decreased and excess carbon dioxide present out in the form of bubbles. So in the carbonated beverages, that is soft drink, soda water, etc., here also Henry's law is applicable because as pressure increases, more and more carbon dioxide dissolved in soft drinks, soda water, etc. So this is one of the application of Henry's law. Second one is more important. In the deep sea diving, which is also known as scuba diving. Deep sea diving, also known as scuba diving. What is scuba diving? Actually, when any diver using oxygen cylinder, we know that for our respiration, oxygen is essential. So generally, when a divers move underwater, so here oxygen is necessary for his respiration. So generally, liquid oxygen along with nitrogen is used by scuba diver So when scuba diver move downwards, so pressure increases and excess oxygen along with nitrogen move in the body. So oxygen is used for respiration, and there is large amount of unutilized nitrogen gas which is present in the respiratory system of our body. So when scuba diver move towards surface of water, so pressure inside his body decreases. So excess nitrogen present in the body is come out from the body, and as a result there is very shocking stage occurs because of removal of excess of nitrogen in the body, and this condition is called the blends. What is blends? When any scuba diver move towards the surface of water, so excess nitrogen present in the body comes out from the body because pressure decreases on the surface, and as a result there is some nitrogen bubbles which blocks movement of oxygen. So this condition is called blends. So this can be avoided by using helium gas. That is, if air, that is nitrogen oxygen mixture, is diluted by helium gas, so this condition can be avoided. So nowadays scuba diver use gas which contains oxygen and nitrogen, and it is diluted by helium. Why helium gas is used? Because helium is less soluble in bloods. As a result, it cannot hamper the bubbles inside our respiratory system. So in case of scuba diving के समय क्या होता है, जो स्कूबा डाइवर जो है ना वो ऑक्सीजन सिलेंडर यूज़ करता है. सो ऑक्सीजन सिलेंडर में ऑक्सीजन along with nitrogen present. So when scuba diver move towards or under deep sea, so pressure inside its body increases. As a result, oxygen along with nitrogen move towards its body. Oxygen is used for respiration and nitrogen remains in the body. So when scuba diver move towards the surface, so excess nitrogen, where pressure decreases, excess nitrogen comes out from the body, and air bubbles is formed in the respiratory system, which, or nitrogen bubbles present in the respiratory system, which blocks the movement or interfere movement of oxygen and impulse in the body. So this condition is known as blends. This is a very pathetic condition. So this blend condition can be avoided if we dilute oxygen and nitrogen mixture with helium, because helium gas is less soluble in blood. So nowadays, instead of nitrogen oxygen mixture, here some helium is mixed or diluted with helium, so that pressure inside body can be released without hamper of movement of impulse and oxygen in the body. So nowadays scuba diver used oxygen nitrogen mixture which is diluted by helium gas. Why helium gas is used? Because helium is less soluble in blood. And this, so here an important term which is used, and is called blends. What is blend? The blend is a pathetic condition when scuba diver move towards the surface, so excess nitrogen comes out from the body, and which interfere movement of impulse and also oxygen in the body, and there is very pathetic condition in the scuba diver, and this condition is called blands, and this bland condition can be avoided if oxygen nitrogen mixture is diluted by helium gas, because helium is less soluble in blood. So this one is very important. Third application is at high altitude. So at high altitude, partial pressure of oxygen is very less. So less amount of oxygen is available for respiration. So when any climbers move in the mountain or high altitude, so there is less oxygen in the body. So this less oxygen is responsible for unable to think and become weak, and this condition is called anoxia. Now what is anoxia? When any climbers move in the high altitude, say hilly area or mountain, so partial pressure at high altitude is less than the plain surface, so less oxygen in the high altitude or less partial pressure of high altitude is responsible for climbers to think and become weak, and this condition is called anoxia. So anoxia is a condition of at high altitude which results in the unable to think and weakness of the body. So these are three applications of Henry's law. Number one, in the production of carbonated beverages, that is soft drinks, soda, water, etc., where carbon dioxide is present, and as pressure increases, amount of carbon dioxide in soft drink or soda water increases. So here also Henry's law is used. Second, in deep sea diving or scuba diving, here also Henry's law is applicable, because when a scuba diver moves downwards in the deep sea, so pressure increases, so solubility of oxygen and nitrogen taken in the body also increases. So more and more oxygen and nitrogen move in the body, and oxygen is used in the respiration and nitrogen remains in the body. So when scuba diver move towards the surface of water, so pressure decreases according to Henry's law. So oxygen is used in the respiration, and nitrogen, which is unused, comes out from the body rapidly, and which restrict the movement of impulse and also other condition of the body, and this condition is called blands. So this can be avoided by diluting oxygen nitrogen mixture with helium, because helium is less soluble in blood. And last one is at high altitude. So at high altitude, partial pressure of oxygen is very less, so less amount of oxygen in the body of the climbers, which results unable to think and weakness, and this condition is called anoxia. So these are three important applications of Henry's law. So now we consider an important question on Henry's law, which is very important for our exam. So write this question and also its answer. Very important question. So here important question. At a same temperature, hydrogen and is more soluble in water than helium. Which one is more soluble? Hydrogen. Then helium. Which of them will have a higher value of KH and why? Two gas, one is hydrogen and other is hydrogen and other is helium. And solubility of hydrogen is more than helium. So which one has higher value of KH? So more soluble means less KH. Less soluble means high KH. So which one has higher value of KH? Helium has higher value of KH because helium is less soluble than hydrogen. Helium is more soluble means less KH. Less soluble means high KH. So solubility and KH are inversely related. Hydrogen is more soluble, so hydrogen has lower value of KH. Helium is less soluble, means it has higher value of KH. So solubility and KH are inversely related. So our answer is so very simple reason. Solubility and KH are inversely related. So here very simple reason. Solubility is inversely related with KH. So hydrogen solubility is high means KH is less. For helium solubility is less, so KH is high. So very important question this one. we have already completed two important one. Number one, solid in liquid, and number two, gas in liquid. Now we consider third important one, solid in solid. So next we consider solid in solid. What is solid in solid? If in a solution both solute and solvent are solid, then such solution is called solid in solid. So solute is solid and solvent also is a solid. So if any solution where both solvent and solute are solid, then such solution is called solid in solid. Now, solid in solid solution can be classified into two types, or there are two types of solid in solid solution. One is called substitutional solid solution and other is called interstitial solid solution. So next we consider types of solution. Number one, substitutional solid solution, and number two, interstitial solid solution. So what is solid solution? If both solute and solvent are solid, then such case is called solid in solid. So there are two types of solid in solid solution. One is called substitutional solid solution and other is called interstitial solid solution. So first we consider substitutional solid solution. So substitutional solid solution means those solution in which atoms, molecules or ions of one substance take the place of another substance. For example, so this is one substance and this is another substance. Example, brass means zinc and copper, both are solid. So if in substitutional solid solution are those in which atoms, molecules or ions of one substance take part or take place the particles of another substance. So in this case, white one represent solvent and black one represent solute. Example of such type is brass, which is a mixture of zinc and copper. In fact, most of the alloys are example of substitutional solution, because in such type of solution one type of particle take the place of another type of particles. Example is brass, which is an alloy of zinc and copper. In fact, all types of alloys are example of substitution solution. If in such case white one where number is large is solvent, and black one where number is less is called solute. So this is first type substitutional solution. Next we consider interstitial solution. So in case of interstitial solid solution, solute take the place of voids or holes of the solvent. So in this case also both are solid, but solute, that is smaller particle, occupy the position of voids or holes. So example of this type is tungsten carbide. So these are tungsten molecules which are comparatively larger in size, and carbon occupy interstitial places or holes or voids of the tungsten metal. So these are two types of solid solution. Substitution solid solution generally formed by the solid where size almost similar, so one replace position of other. And interstitial solid solution where size of two particles are dissimilar, one is smaller, other is larger, so smaller one take the place of interstitial voids of larger particle. So these are two types of solid solution. So in case of substitutional solid solution, size of two particles are almost similar, so one replaces another. And in case of interstitial solution, solid solution, particles are of dissimilar size, one is larger, another is smaller, and smaller one occupy the position or place of interstitial voids of larger one. Example is tungsten carbide. So this is all about solid in solid. Next we consider vapor pressure of solution. Vapor pressure of liquid solution. So before vapor pressure of liquid solution, first we consider vapor pressure of liquid. Vapor pressure of liquid. So if we consider a liquid in a closed vessel, say this is any liquid, say water, and system is closed. So at ordinary temperature or any temperature, liquid move from liquid state to vapor state. Liquid state to vapor state. Process is called vaporization. This process is called vaporization. Since container is closed, so there is no way of escaping out from the container. So vapor remains within the container. So reverse process also starts. It is vapor is converted to liquid, and this process is called condensation. It is one is liquid to vapor is called vaporization, and reverse process is called condensation. So two processes are going on simultaneously, but in the opposite direction. Say if we take water, then water liquid is converted to water vapor. First process is called vaporization, and second one is called condensation. Now initially rate of vaporization is very high and rate of condensation is very slow. So as time passes, rate of vaporization increases and that of condensation, rate of vaporization decreases and that of condensation increases. And ultimately a stage comes when two rates become equal. That is, they are established an equilibrium between vaporization and condensation. Again, if any liquid is taken in a closed container, then liquid is converted to vapor. Process is known as vaporization. And vapor so formed is converted to liquid. It is called condensation. So two opposing processes are going on within the container. One is vaporization, other is condensation. Now initially rate of vaporization is high and that of condensation is slow. As time passes, rate of vaporization decreases and that of condensation increases, and ultimately a stage comes when two rates become equal. That is, rate of vaporization is equal to rate of condensation. That is, they are established an equilibrium between vaporization and condensation. Now pressure exerted on the surface of liquid at equilibrium is known as vapor pressure. So what is vapor pressure? Vapor pressure means pressure exerted on the surface of a liquid when they are established an equilibrium between vaporization and condensation. So vapor pressure is also known as equilibrium vapor pressure, because vapor pressure always measured at equilibrium. So what is vapor pressure? Vapor pressure is the pressure exerted on a surface of liquid when there is equilibrium between vaporization and condensation. So vapor pressure is also known as equilibrium vapor pressure because it is always measured at equilibrium. Now, vapor pressure depends on mainly two factors. So next we consider factors affecting vapor pressure. So next we consider factors affecting vapor pressure of a liquid. So there are two important factors on which vapor pressure of a liquid depends. Number one, nature of liquid. And number two, temperature. So there are two factors on which vapor pressure of a liquid depends. Number one is nature of liquid and number two is temperature. So first we consider nature of liquid. We know that vapor pressure depends on intermolecular forces operating between liquid molecules. If intermolecular force is weak, there is more tendency to escape out from the liquid state to vapor state. So higher will be the vapor pressure. Since intermolecular force is different for different liquids, so vapor pressure also different for different liquids. Again, vapor pressure of a liquid depends on nature of liquid. Nature of liquid means every liquid has its own intermolecular forces. Now, since intermolecular force vary from liquid to liquid, therefore vapor pressure also vary from liquid to liquid. Now there is an interesting relation between vapor pressure and intermolecular force. If intermolecular forces are strong, then vapor pressure is less, and if intermolecular forces are weak, then vapor pressure is high. So weak intermolecular force means high vapor pressure. Strong intermolecular force means less vapor pressure. So if vapor pressure of a liquid is very high, it means that its intermolecular force is very weak. And if vapor pressure of a liquid is very low value, means its intermolecular force is very strong. For example, if we consider three liquids, say water, alcohol and ether. So their intermolecular forces are in the order. So this is order of intermolecular forces. Intermolecular force decreases. Intermolecular force decreases in this direction. So weakest intermolecular force and this one water, strongest intermolecular force among them. So they are vapor pressure in the order. So weakest intermolecular force means highest vapor pressure. Strongest intermolecular force means least vapor pressure. So vapor pressure and intermolecular force are inversely related. High intermolecular force means less vapor pressure. Weak intermolecular force means high vapor pressure. So vapor pressure and intermolecular force are inversely related. Since intermolecular force is different for different liquids, so vapor pressure also different for different liquids. That is depends on nature of liquid. Second one is temperature. Temperature and vapor pressure are directly related. That is, as temperature increases, vapor pressure also increases. This is because as temperature increases, kinetic energy of molecule also increases, because kinetic energy is directly proportional to Kelvin temperature. So as temperature increases, kinetic energy also increases. So more and more molecule pass in the vapor state, so higher will be the vapor pressure. So why vapor pressure of a liquid increases with increasing temperature? This is because as temperature increases, kinetic energy also increases. So more and more molecule pass in the vapor state, so vapor pressure will be high. So vapor pressure of liquid increases with increasing temperature. So if we sum up vapor pressure of a liquid, then what is vapor pressure? Vapor pressure is the pressure exerted on a surface of liquid when there is equilibrium between vaporization and condensation. Now, vapor pressure of a liquid depends on two factors. Number one, nature of liquid and also temperature. So in case of nature of liquid, since intermolecular force is different for different liquids, so vapor pressure also different. Now there is a relation between intermolecular force and vapor pressure. If any liquid where intermolecular force is strong, means it has very low value of vapor pressure. And if any liquid where intermolecular force is weak, means it has high value of vapor pressure. So intermolecular force and vapor pressure are inversely related. And second one, temperature. Generally for all liquids, as temperature increases, vapor pressure also increases. This is because as temperature increases, kinetic energy of the molecule also increases. So more energetic molecules easily pass in the vapor state, so higher will be the value of vapor pressure. So this is all about today's class. Next day we consider important law which is known as Raoult's law. Okay, thank you.